Today we'll paint oil barrels and drums. The colours we will use are Mephiston Red, Gracia, Ashen Grey, Stormhost Silver, a Matte Black, and Mr. Weathering Colour Sunday Wash. I've started by spraying these barrels with a red spray paint. This can easily be achieved with just a red base coat. The first step that we'll do, we'll bring that red up just a little bit more. I'm going to use the Mephiston Red and apply a very quick overbrush, sort of from a top down, and just try and get a lot of that paint to catch over the top. This can be pretty rough, just got to be pretty quick, and almost acts a bit like a highlight. Do that all around. Try and do it from top down, as you can see that I'm trying to do. Just to apply that red, that brighter red, where the light would normally reflect. I'm going to apply some transfers. I've chosen Warhammer 40,000 transfers to really tell the story of the world that these drums and barrels are in. But if your barrels are from a different universe or for a different faction, feel free to change these transfers for something that's more appropriate. And I have decided to apply a band of paint that the transfers can go on. This is going to be applied using the Gracia paint in the middle band of these barrels. This will need to be a solid colour, so you'll likely need to apply it in 2 coats. And I'll leave this red. I can show you both techniques of applying the transfers and how that's going to look on those 2 different finishes. You will need to apply some gloss varnish to where the transfers will go. And what this does is it creates a smooth area that the transfers would more adhere to. In this case, that white band that we applied before, we painted on with some gloss varnish, as well as the same band in the middle of the red barrel. And because I'm not entirely sure whereabouts on this band those transfers will end up, I'm going to paint the entire band in gloss varnish, and that gives me all the options available. I'm going to use this product called Decal Softener. This will dissolve the edges of the transfer and make it blend in more seamlessly with the rest of the model. But it's simply painted over the edges of the transfer. This decal softener starts to sort of melt through the transfer and bind it to the model. We're going to let this dry and then seal the model. Make sure those transfers don't come off in the next step. To seal the model, I'm going to rely on the gloss varnish again. This can be applied as a spray application, but I would prefer to brush it on to get a little bit more precision. And in this case, I'm actually going to apply it to the entirety of the model. This will help make the entire model have a uniform look, even at the end. A very quick, simple application with brush is absolutely fine here. And importantly, it just needs to be able to be applied, to keep those transfers in place for the next couple of steps. Now we need to let that dry completely before we move on to the next steps. Okay, let's apply some basic chipping. We're going to apply some scratches to this model, first using the Eshin Grey. We're going to follow that up with the Stormhost Silver for a metallic finish on those chips. And we'll use the Eshin Grey as a bit of a guide as to where this should be applied. This will create a small definition between the red paint and the chipped metal underneath. An extremely easy, extremely simple step. Before we apply the final step to this terrain piece, I'm going to paint the palette that these barrels come on in a black paint. Now let's add some weathering effects. I've chosen to add dust. The dust I'll be using is from the Mr. Weathering Color range. It's applied pretty quickly, pretty haphazardly, and the effects should be very good. It can also be manipulated while wet and after it starts to dry, but it does set relatively quickly depending on the level of the application. I've decided to start from the bottom, and once I've added the hardest or the thickest application down there, I will start to work my way upwards from the model, from the ground up, and apply progressively thinner applications. And this is to simulate where the dust would naturally settle at the bottom and where it would be the lightest towards the top. Now, while the application is still a little bit wet, I'm going to grab a drier brush and manipulate it around. As an example, by pushing down into the crevices here, I'm going to move the dust away from the top coat and into where it would naturally settle. This is very achievable because we've given it that gloss varnish coat before, which protects the layers underneath. It allows me to be a little bit rough on this application process and get the results that we want. Let's try that again. And there we go. In very little time, we have some painted oil barrels. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video helpful. Please like or subscribe to the channel to show your support, and I hope to see you on the next one.